Welcome to the Aboriginal channel. This episode will be another part to Aboriginal forts and castles. So right here, we're going to be looking at a fort right here in Georgia in the county of Bryan. Then we're going to shoot over to Nashville in the county of Williamson. And then after that, we're going to look right here in Missouri. Before we look at those forts, I'm going to go inside of the books and do a little bit of reading so we can get some confirmation about what we've been looking at these forts and castles. The book is called Footprints of Vanished Races in the Mississippi Valley, being an account of some of the monuments and relics of prehistoric races scattered over its surface, with suggestions as to their origin and uses, by A.J. Cunnett, 1879. It says, one people, the builders of these mounds, cremation and burial mounds, the big mound at St. Louis, mistaken views, minute description of the work, stone mounds, stone sepulchres in St. Louis and Perry counties. Notwithstanding the variety of form presented in the multitude of structures throughout the continent of North America, the comparison of many of their most prominent characteristics makes it reasonably certain that one people were the authors of them all. Pause. So it's saying right here that no matter where you're seeing them at, basically one people made them. While many of them in the order of their age belong to periods more or less remote, reaching back many hundreds and perhaps thousands of years, many others are comparatively recent. Taken as a whole, the thoughtful observer will see in his diversity of configuration and grouping that natural order of growth which might be looked for in the slow development of a national life, whether generated among the peoples themselves or helped forward by occasional and accidental impulses from without. It seems highly probable that there were two slowly moving streams of migration from the north, the most important one on the east of the Mississippi, the other through the territories lying west of the river. This southward movement of a vast people seems to have been arrested in the valley of the Ohio for a long period of time. Otherwise, the fact can hardly be accounted for that here occur the most stupendous monuments of their industry and skill, and also the most striking evidence of the stability and repose of their national life. Here the mound builders reached the highest stage of civilization they ever attended this side of Central America and Mexico. The monument upon the western side of the river, while it had its source in one great fountain ahead at the north, does not seem to have been so well defined in all its characteristics. Notwithstanding the fact that the population in Missouri at one time was at great, and we have reason to think greater than in Ohio. The cause may have been that they never enjoyed a season of repose and exemption from war to such a degree as to render it possible for them to devote the time and concentrate their energies upon their internal affairs to the extent which resulted in the more advanced civilization of the eastern tribes. There seems to have been one prevailing system of religion among them all. Pause. Let's go back there. It says that these tribes in the Mississippi Valley weren't as advanced as the eastern tribes, and that'll come up later when we're looking at how many more forts there are in the east, in the northeast, than there was down south. So that is why I'm showing these in a particular order so we can see how it went. But it says the cause may have been that they never enjoyed a season of repose and exemption from war to such a degree as to render it possible for them to devote the time and energy upon their internal affairs to the extent which resulted in the more advanced civilization of the eastern tribes. There seems to have been one prevailing system of religion among them all, which was based upon the worship of the heavenly bodies. Their remark applies not only to people of North America, but to the ancient inhabitants of the southern continent as well. The temple mounds in both, though built of different materials, are the same in form and purpose. So that's a very important one to factor in when we're looking at these forts and these castles, that the temple mounds in both continents, north, central, and south, though built of different materials, are the same in form and purpose. Then it goes on to say that the identity of so many rites and customs among them all, it is believed no extended argument is needed, as before stated, to prove that whatever may be relative age of the groups of works found in different localities, they were all built by one people. Now I'm going to go over to another book. This book is called History of Alabama and Incidentally that of Georgia Georgia and Mississippi from the earliest period by Albert James Pickett, 1851. So right here is describing a time when the conquistador Spaniard Hernan de Soto was going through Alabama. It says, in the plains were plum trees peculiar to the country and others resembling those of Spain. Wild fruit clambered to the tops of the loftiest trees, and lower branches were laden with delicious Isabella grapes. In July 1540, the army came in sight of the town of Coosa. Far in the outskirts, De Soto was met by the chief, seated upon a cushion, riding in a chair supported upon the shoulders of 4 of his chief men. 1,000 warriors, tall, active, sprightly, and admirably proportioned, with large plumes of various colors on their heads, followed him, marching in regular order. His dress consisted of a splendid mantle of marten skins thrown gracefully over his shoulder, while his head was adorned with a diadem of brilliant feathers. Around him many Indians raised their voices in song, and others made music upon flutes. The steel-clad warriors of Spain, with their glittering armor, scarcely equaled the magnificent display made by these natives of Alabama. The chief, receiving De Soto with the warmth of a generous heart, made him the following speech: Mighty chief, above all others of the earth, although I come now to receive you, yet I received you many days ago deep in my heart. If I had the whole world, it would not give me as much pleasure as I now enjoy at the presence of yourself and your incomparable warriors. My person, lands, and subjects are at your service. I will now march you to your quarters with playing and singing. De Soto responded in his best style, after which he advanced to the town. Conversing with the chief, he rode in his sedan chair while the lofty Spaniard sat upon his fiery steed. The royal house was set apart for the accommodation of the Spaniard, and one half of the other houses were surrendered to the troops. Pause. So my point of reading this whole thing right here was to say that the royal house was set apart for the Spaniard. Okay, they had what was called a royal house. And I'm gonna go into another book right here and just give you an example of what I mean when I say that they had castles and royal houses and things like that. And they also had southern hospitality. As you can see, the speech that the chief put together was spoken with the warmth of a generous heart. But moving over here to the book America, being the latest and most accurate description of the New World, containing the original of the inhabitants, written by John Oakleby in 1671. And right here we have a image from the book. And right back here, you see what it looked like, a structure, a castle with a tower, portholes abundant right here. So now we're going to move over and look at some forts. The first fort is Fort Granger. It's in Franklin, Tennessee, south of Nashville. And when you look up the photos that it gives you these Indian mounds right here and trails. See the mound and the trail, another trail, and looks like maybe underground. Says Fort Granger was a Union fort built in 1862. Then when I go and scroll down the images, there's an image right here where it has these cannons right here pointing that way. But as you can see, there was a Indian fort right here. This is classic where Indian fort used to be right here. And to give you an example of what I'm talking about, we can go look down in Florida and numerous other places, but I like to use Fort Zachary Taylor right down here. So this is the aerial view. Here's Fort Zachary Taylor Historic State Park. And as you can see, the same fort with the moat, basically the ditch with the water around it, is right here. So when you look at this, and then we go look at what was at Fort Granger, you basically see the same pattern right here, except for the building and the water and stuff ain't there no more, right? And that's right here in Nashville, right here where it's real dark, meaning that there was multiple battles there, multiple years during the Civil War. We're going to move down here to Fort McAllister down here in Bryan County right here, Georgia. And when you look at the images it gives you, you can see major Indian mounds. Right there, it looks like what? Underground. That's been a reoccurring occurrence right there. since we've been looking at these Civil War battle sites with forts and castles. So now we're going to go right here to Cape Girardeau County in Missouri, Fort D. Says work on Fort D began in August of 1861 under the direction of John Powell, who was a U.S. soldier, meaning that he was a Union Army. Now here's an image they give you right here. See that building? In my mind, that was built by American Indians right there in Missouri. Now if you look at this building right here and compare it to this one right here in the book America being the latest and most accurate description of the New World through the history books, which has all been a lie. So therefore, if it's a lie, then what's the truth? If it's a lie, then what's the truth?